The work of a software developer is demanding. You are not just writing code anymore. You are working with teams, collaborating on projects, reviewing changes, fixing bugs, and constantly shaping new features. As your project grows, managing all that complexity becomes almost impossible without the right tools and workflow. This is where tools like Git and GitHub become essential. Git helps you track changes, manage different versions of your code, and work safely without breaking your project. GitHub takes this further by giving you a platform where you can store your code, collaborate with other developers, and manage software projects professionally. In this tutorial, we are going to start from the very beginning. We'll create simple Node projects, initialize Git, create GitHub repository, connect your local project to the remote repository, and push our code to GitHub. By the end of this video, you will understand the basic GitHub workflow that developers use every day to build, collaborate, and ship software. So let's get started and take your first step into professional software development workflows. Spoiler alert, this is not my wedding announcement. This is the project that I am going to use for my demo. This is a complete GitHub workflow. You first create a GitHub repository on the GitHub website. Then in your local projects, you initialize Git in your project and turn it into a GitHub repository. Then you will add the files that you'll be pushing to GitHub. You commit the files or you stage them. Then you connect your local repository to the remote repository on GitHub, and then you push your code online. These are the Git commands that you will need. All right. So Git is basically the version control that we'll be using. So that is what we will use in our terminal to interact with our GitHub project or repository. Git init to initialize your local project into a Git hub repository, and then we'll add the files. All right, you usually do a git add dot if you want to add all files, which I would recommend, or you can add a specific file. Then you do a git commit -m and you input the message within the quotations. And if it's a new project, you specify that you want to work on a specific branch. In most cases, you want to work on the main branch. You can have other branches for other things. Maybe you have a branch that you use to test code before you push them to the main for release. And then you add a specific origin. All right, I'll show you that the specific remote origin. You connect it to your local project, and you finally push to that origin, specifying the branch, which is the main. And for an update, you only need just these 3 commands, and then you are good to go. Let's get coding. This is my wedding project. I've created a basic Node Express project, and it's already running. I opened that for you. This project has no Git in it. Okay, no, it's not a Git project, so I'm going to do that. I'll create a new terminal, all right, a Git bash terminal, all right. You would have to ensure that you have Git installed. Okay, I'll leave the link in the description. Okay, you have to install Git first. Let's run through the commands. First, we'll do a git add, a git init to initialize and convert our local project into a GitHub repository. Okay. So it says that it's an empty Git repository. So it's initialized and it's now a Git repository. All right. And then with that done, we are going to add the files. Okay, I want to add all the files in my project, and I'll just use the dot notation to add the files. And it has a .git, all right, hidden, which has all the files within it. Okay, and that is what would GitHub will use to monitor whether there have been changes or not. And I'm going to now do add a message. Okay, I'm going to commit. So commit here, we are going to take like a snapshot of the project. We'll take a snapshot of the project, like a photo. And if we are doing another update, we take another photo. GitHub can look at the difference and tell whether you are doing an update, whether what you have on GitHub is newer than what you are pushing. In that way, GitHub will ask you to do a pull first and so on. Git commit and add a message. I'll call this my first commit. I'll close that and then I'll run. All right. Because it's our first project, I'm going to specify the branch we'll be working on. Git branch, and I want to work with a main branch. All right, I want to work with a main branch, and currently you have master app. I want to work with the main branch, so I'm just going to do that. Then I'll just do that capital M. Sorry. Okay, and it will create that main branch. Awesome, and that is done. The next, we are going to now add the GitHub repository the Git repository that we'll be working with. Okay, we are going to connect what we have locally on our machine to the Git repository on GitHub. Up until now, we've not created the Git repository. Okay, so we need to create that on the GitHub website. Let's do that. Make sure you are logged into Git, okay, into GitHub, all right, log in and select repositories, and let's create our new repository. I'll call this my wedding, and then you can give it a description. And over here, I would want it to be a private repository, not accessible publicly to the internet. If it's you are sharing source code, then that is different. You can make it public, but for now it's private. And I'm not going to initiate any file here. I want to keep it clean so that my source of truth will be the local repository. If you add a repository, you add a file here, you have to do a pull, and then for the first time, I will just leave it as it is, and then I'll just go ahead and create the repository. Now this is empty now, it has nothing. Okay, if there was a file, you would see the code tab here, and then you will see the file there. What I'm going to do is that come here and then just copy this, all right? Okay, just copy that. And you can look at this, a very simple thing, github.com/ your GitHub, okay, accounts, okay. Mostly that's your username and then the repository, okay. I'll just copy this, and then let's come here and then now let's add that repository. So I'll just do git remote. All right, so I'm connecting a remote repository from the GitHub website. Git remote, add it, and how do we call that repository? The nickname, use origin, and then just paste what you copy without any quotation, and just do enter. and now it has connected. Since it has connected, the next thing you are going to do is that you are simply going to now push your code from your computer, your local, to the remote origin that you have added. How do we do that? We use git command and push. All right, then you do a dash u, and you say that u means, you want, but then you just telling GitHub that next time when I am updating my code, just remember my last or a remote repository and then my branch. I don't need to code them anymore. Awesome. So git push dash u, and then we just say origin, and what branch am I working on? Main. And go. And just like that, Git is putting all your codes together, and then just pushing it. Okay, it's just putting everything right in it. Now let's go back to GitHub. Let's reload our page, and there you go. So now you have your code uploaded. And now let us do one last thing. Let's say for some reason, maybe I'm working with somebody and then the person has added a change. Okay, I'm not going to do much. What I'm going to do is that I'm just going to add a README file here. I'll do add a README. I'll just click this to add a README, and I'll just say my wedding 2027, and I'll just click here, commit changes, and you see that it just have the main branch. Okay, so it renamed, when I was doing the post, it just renamed the master branch to main. All right, so I just have it. I won't add any description. I'll just say commit changes. And so over here, a chain has been added, a readme file has been created, and I don't have it here, but I want to keep working. And so if I want to keep working, I have to make sure that I am working with the latest code on GitHub. If not, when I want to now push, I'm going to have issues. I'll just do git and pull. Okay, so before that, let me just reload, and you see that we don't have that file. All right, so I just do git pull, git pull. Okay, so it pulls and it just brings a new file, and there you go. And then you also have what we call the git clone. So if you are, especially if you are if you are downloading code from GitHub, and where you can also use the git clone, you do that in an empty folder, and then it can work. So guys, thank you for being part of this video. In the next video, we are going to take our project further. We are going to host our project on Heroku, on Vessel, and other hosting platforms. And we are even going to learn how you can connect your domain to it. Subscribe, like, and see you in another video.